What's going on, everybody? Got to do this video in the truck, so I hadn't drove it in a little while. Thought I'd get out and drive it, get the engine all lubed up, all the moving parts. Good to drive a vehicle every once in a while, but I've not drove mine in a while. But we are going to do probably the final video I do in this kind of trilogy I've been doing here lately of my top 5 Tundra mods over the price of $500. Now we're getting into some pretty serious mods here. This is for the pretty serious modder. I mean, you're going to spend some money here. So these will either you just have a lot of money, or these are going to require you to save up and buy them, like I've had to do. So these are for the pretty serious modder, in my opinion. But let's get on with it. Number 5, and that would be an exhaust. I love my exhaust. I love the way it sounds. I don't know if you can really hear it. I would like mine to be a little bit louder. I do like mine. Mine is a dual Borla exhaust. But when people ask me what exhaust system they should buy, I always tell them to buy the TRD exhaust, like the TRD Pro exhaust, the dual exhaust. It is a little bit louder than mine, a little bit throatier, and I wish mine was just a tad bit louder and a little bit throatier. Now that doesn't mean I don't like my exhaust. I do. In fact, it's not worth me selling mine or taking mine off to replace it with one of these. There's such a minute amount of difference, but there is enough difference to notice. But it's still not worth me replacing mine. And again, you can pick one of these up at Sparks Parts. If you use discount code GearRunner, you can save 5% off your order, and they have those there for $1,020. Now, that's definitely over the $500 mark. Like I said, these are all mods over $500, so these go all the way up into the thousands of dollars. But you can save 5%, like I said, at Sparks Parts. And $1,020 does not include installation. So if you're not going to install this yourself, you'll have to add on a little bit for that. I imagine these are just, plug and play basically. So there's not a lot to them. Anybody can do this. If you want to do it yourself, you can save some money, but I wouldn't imagine it would cost over $100 to get one of these installed, because it's pretty simple, especially if you have a lift. So that's number 5 on the list, TRD dual exhaust system. Number 4. And that would be the spray-in bed liner. I have a Line-X in this. I think Toyota used Line-X to put this in. It was in it when I bought the truck. I do prefer Line-X over, what's the other one? Rhino Liner. Now, I had a Rhino Liner in my last F-150, and I think that cost me somewhere around $550-ish. So just barely over the $500 mark. Now, if you shop around and you barter a little bit and you deal with them a little bit, you might actually be able to get like a Line-X or something under the $500 mark. But the last one I got was just a shade over $500, which is why I didn't put it on the mods under $500. I waited to do it on the video over $500, because I would think after taxes and stuff like that, it's probably going to be over $500 installed. I don't know if you can buy this stuff and do it yourself. If you can, you surely can do it for under $500, but most people do not do these things themselves. I know there are cheaper kits that you can buy. I don't know how well those hold up, but if you do plan on getting a brand name one, like I said, such as Line-X or Rhino Liner, after taxes and fees and installation and everything like that, you are looking at probably a little bit over $500. But this is one mod that you are definitely going to use. I hate those, just beds that are just left painted. They scratch. Just looking at them, you put stuff in your bed and it just scratches all to pieces. I've never liked the drop-in liners at all. They get dirt underneath them, move back and forth with wind, and that just winds up scratching your bed even worse. And then it causes it to rust, and then you got more problems than you had if you just paid the extra $100, $150 and got a spray in them. Because the plastic ones from the dealership really aren't that much cheaper than a spray-in liner. And that's why that's number 4, because you're going to use that probably more than the exhaust. The exhaust is just for pleasantries. Number 3 on the list, and this is going to get into a little bit of money, and I really like the metal bumpers. I've not got those on my truck as of right now. I have thought about putting those on this truck, as such as like the Go Rhinos, the Infabs, Iron Cross makes some. I believe DV8 at least makes a rear bumper for the Tundras. And these things range anywhere from like $800 or $900 usually for like a rear bumper, all the way up to like $1,300 to $1,500 or even more for front bumpers. But they usually have places in them for like the square pod fog lights and stuff like that. I just think they look cool, and usually they give you a little bit more room out there on the front to be able to run a bigger tire. So that's just another reason to get those, and that'll lead into my next couple of upgrades right here coming up, or my next couple of suggestions. It gives you a little more room to put a bigger tire, gives you a little more ground clearance and stuff like that, and like I said, a few more options for fog lights. That's why it's number 3 on my list of mods for over $500. Number 2. All right, number 2 is getting into some big money now. You can spend some big money right here. Number 2 is suspension. Now, I know I had suspension on under $500. That wasn't really a suspension, it was lift, because you can do the ready lift for like $350, which is what I have on my truck. I don't take this truck off-road. I have a Jeep Wrangler for that. So I didn't need a suspension lift on this truck. If you're going to do a lot of off-roading, you're going to want a suspension lift. Suspension lifts will probably give you a little bit better ride too, but you can spend unlimitless amounts of money on a suspension lift. I mean, you can probably get suspension lifts anywhere from $2,500, just guessing, I've never really looked them up, all the way to, I bet people's got over $10,000 in their suspension. I mean, I there's not a doubt in my mind, by the time they bought sway bars and suspension and shocks with, you know, the reservoirs on them and stuff like that, upper control arms and everything, and there's not a doubt in my mind that somebody doesn't have a Tundra out there with suspension cost over $10,000. So you can buy it anywhere you want to go with it. I know I looked at one for my F-150, and I think the place I looked at it installed and everything wanted about $4,500 for a 4-inch lift. So that's what we're going to base this on. We're going to base it on about $4,000 to $5,000 if you want about a 4-inch suspension lift, depending on what brand you go with, who you get to install it and stuff like that. So we're going to ballpark it around $4,000 to $5,000. Now the reason that is number 2, because it kind of pairs up with number 1, and you kind of have to do number 2 before you can do number 1, if you know what I'm saying. All right, so what number 1 is wheels and tires. Wheels and tires. That really makes the truck look a lot better. Yes, lifting the truck looks amazing, but if you lift that truck and you leave the stock wheels and tires on it, looks horrible. You got this big, huge fender gap, really not worth going off-road in, stuff like that. So you're going to want to put on a better set or a larger set of wheels and tires to make that truck look a lot beefier, make it look meaner. And if you're going to take it off-road, you're going to need a better, you know, tire for that situation. Maybe not a mud terrain, but if you're going to do a lot of mud, you know, off-roading and stuff, you may want to go with a mud terrain, which is going to ruin your ride. My Jeep is horrible. But maybe like a hybrid, like I said, like the Ridge Grappler or the Falcon MT or something like that, to give you a decent ride and pretty decent off-roading capabilities. I do run a 35 1250 20 on this truck, and I do that with a 3.2 ready lift. But I can't run an aggressive tire. So that's why I've thought about different bumpers and stuff like that, because I believe if I change my bumpers and stuff that I could run a larger tire, but if I had a 4-inch lift or more, I could definitely run any tire I wanted to that was a 35 1250 20. So there's another reason that you do a suspension lift, not just off-roading, but you have more size option for tires if you lift that truck that high. All right, time for the honorable mention. Honorable mention, Supercharger. A Magnuson Supercharger. These things are very expensive. This is for the very serious modder. You're talking about $7,000 for a supercharger for one of these trucks. Now, again, if you use discount code GearRunner at Sparks Parts, you can even save 5% off that $7,000 supercharger. You're talking about major savings right there. I mean, 5% of $7,000 is quite a bit of money. But then you're also going to have that installed, which I would imagine would cost at least $1,000 to $1,500, because installing a supercharger isn't the easiest thing in the world. So I would imagine that, you know, it would cost a little bit to have that thing installed. Just the initial purchase isn't the final cost of the supercharger, unless you're handy enough to install that yourself, which I'm probably not. Not going to say I'm not, but I'm probably not going to tackle a job like that, because that's going to take a lot more time to do than I have time to do it. Plus, I don't have the $7,000 to buy it to begin with. But that would make this truck pretty awesome. Not that it's not awesome already, but I can only imagine hitting tow haul mode, slamming the throttle to the floor, having a supercharger on this thing. That would be pretty cool, in my opinion. So there it is. This is probably the final video, like I said, of my top 5 mod suggestions. Tell me what you think. Did I miss anything, or should I add anything to the list that's over $500? I appreciate you guys watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.